agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely, we do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
So what could I say that you haven't heard about this debate? Is there anything left to talk about? I mean, people have gone crazy over it. I can't go over it. I'm not going to go over it. You know, everybody who saw it saw the highlights, or they saw the whole thing. I watched the whole thing. I did. I watched the whole thing, and I enjoyed every second of it. Not because I was delighted or enraptured or entranced by any one candidate, because I wasn't. I mean, I wasn't like, wow, look at this. This is really Trump's day to shine. I thought the way he talked over Hillary that made me cringe a little bit. But I watched the whole thing. I listened to their stories. I listened to their plans. And you know, when you listen to a presidential, oh yeah. By the way, before I clicked it on live, watched it live through YouTube again. I like that. Before I clicked it on a little early, and I was watching Jimmy Carter debate Ronald Reagan, or vice versa, depending on how you want to put it. He was the seated president at the time. And the difference, man, the difference in the feeling that I got when I watched Ronald Reagan talk in the debate, you know, to Jimmy Carter, who was a great talker, you know, a great Southern gentleman. I watched Ronald Reagan and I wanted to be president. I watched his voice and the way that he said things on the microphone and how he made it sound like it was such a noble thing to be the president. And I was just like, I could feel it in me like a little child. I was like, oh man, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad gig. Maybe I could go back to college. Maybe I could... And I guess that's the difference in a leader. You know, that's the difference in one of the all-time great leaders, I guess. But the debates, we could debate whether or not the debate is a topic worth debating. How's that? I think it's not. I think people have analyzed it and overanalyzed it and underanalyzed it to the point where it's just, what do you say? It was only an hour and a half of video. You know what I mean? It was only an hour and a half of video. There's only so much you can do with that. And let's be honest, about 20 minutes of that hour and a half was either candidate apologizing about some craziness that they did in their past. So I don't think we'll ever see another one like that where we have people on the apology tour in the first 20 minutes of the debate. But I would much rather talk about what's important to you, because I think that's where this decision really lies. That's where this decision really comes to a head. You know what I mean? Gary Johnson, the media killed him. I'm sorry. There's not enough time left to save the libertarian candidate. There's just not enough time. There's not enough time. I called for a reset on this whole election about 6 months ago, and people laughed at me, and, you know, the whole idea got laughed off. And of course, as usual, here we sit, you know, people start to get an idea of just how bad things are, but for some reason they don't get that idea until it's a little too late. So the question really becomes for November, for that first Tuesday in November. What do you care about? What matters to you? Because I think whether or not you like the candidates, hate the candidates, whether you like one, hate the other one, whether you just think they're both despicable, there are motivations. There are underlying motivations in their campaigns. There are very clear strategies within their campaigns that I think we can trust for both sides. Right? I think we can trust that maybe not 100% of what each one of them wants to get done is going to get done, but we know that where their motivations lie and where they're going to go to get these things done. And I think that's very clear to see. Pardon me. We've been out of power for 3 days now, and it's no fun. And it's not that when we're out of power, it's not really like most people. You know, we can cook, we can eat, we stay warm, and the whole thing, you know, it's a very comfortable situation. But I will say, you miss certain things. You miss and getting up with the kids in the morning, and it's been cold, and getting them dressed and all that. It's, you know, I'm ready for some electricity. I can tell you that right now. I'm ready for some. You get caught up in nature and camp, and oh man, it's so good to be out in the outdoors and have fun and sleep in the complete and total darkness. But it's not good when you combine that with home. You know what I mean? When you get your mind made up that you're going to go out and you're going to live in the elements, that's one thing. Well, when you return back to shelter to find that it's very similar to the outdoors, and you know, darkness and cold and everything's harder. I think about the deer bedded down during the hurricane, and I think to myself, God almighty, they live that way. That's the only thing they know. And maybe because of that, they're better. Maybe because of that, they're stronger, because it is the only thing. They don't know what it is to crawl up into a big warm bed with a cover. But I think that this race is going to be... we know it's not going to be won and lost by scandals. You know? This is a race that is not going to be lost or won on scandals. Which is a good thing in some ways. You know, in some ways that's a good thing. But we've seen each candidate take blows that are pretty much unbelievable. And they're both still going up and away. Now, we could talk about the tape a little bit if you want to talk about that. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it. I know exactly how I feel about it. And, you know, it's very similar to the way I felt about the tape with who was the guy who owned the basketball team. I'm not a big fan of people being recorded in conversation. I'm really not a big fan of people taking other people's private conversations and then using them as weapons against them. I'm not a fan of that. No, sir. I don't appreciate it. I don't think it's an American thing to do. I think we actually had a president impeached for that, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think this will be an election that's won or lost by scandals. Because we know that we're dealing in scoundrels. But they're going to get things done. One of them is going to get things done in office. That's a guarantee. We know that Hillary wants 65,000 more immigrants from Syria. Where do you fall on that? That's a giant question when your hand is on that polling lever, or really touch screen. But when you're standing in the ballot box, that's a question. That's a pivotal question. The fulcrum there is with Hillary. You have 65,000 new unvetted Syrian refugees in the nation, on top of the 10,000 that Obama wanted to bring, or that Obama brought in. Beyond that, you have the opposite, right? You have the counterbalance. You have Donald Trump, who has a pretty decent idea about, first of all, vetting, extreme vetting, which I appreciate, because I have a family in this nation and I want them to be safe. And that's my number one. Okay, families outside of this nation that live in Syria that are in a bad situation, I feel for them, yes. We give them probably billions of dollars a year. And to be quite honest with you, I like his idea about setting up safe zones in Syria. And I like the fact that he'll have a conversation about America not paying for it. I really like that. People laugh. They say, oh, that'll never work. Okay. Well, let's at least lay it on the table. Hillary doesn't even want to put that on the table. She wants to say, just bring them in. Just bring them all in. What the hell? Bring them in. And you know what? In 10 generations, maybe they'll assimilate. In 10 generations, we'll have a good, cohesive America. But if your family winds up between one of these people and their quest for jihad, then you may have to experience your own personal apocalypse. Okay? And that's what I want you people to think about out there. You know, we always think about the big one in these circles. We're always worried about the big one. The EMP that shuts the power out, right? The solar storm that shuts the power out. The civil unrest that spreads like wildfire, which, by the way, is threatening more and more every day when you look at the Black Lives Matter movement and what they're really doing. But I want you to think about your personal apocalypse. I really do. I want you to think about your own personal apocalypse and how that can happen. Right? So you wind up in the crossfire of one of these monsters and you lose a child and a wife, or a child and a spouse. That's a personal apocalypse, man. That's the end of your world as you know it. That is the end of your world as you know it. Right? Big changes have to happen. You got to go into survival mode, maybe. Who knows? Who knows the repercussions? But I want to talk more about this. I want to talk more about the issues. I want to talk about what you believe in, what you want. Because I think from that, you'll find either you're for Trump or you're against Trump, or you're for Hillary or you're against Hillary. And you'll vote accordingly. And that'll make it easier on you.
There's a moon out tonight. Let's go strolling. There's a girl in my heart.
So here we sit, right? The golden age of morality, 2016. The idols of the golden age of morality are up in arms over these comments made by Donald Trump. These degrading, expletive-filled comments made by a man like Donald Trump. Just up in arms, just ready to take on his whole machine and throw him into the waste bin of history. And meanwhile, so enraptured and entranced, I watched Willy Wonka last night, by their anger towards a misogynist like this. I mean, what a misogynistic thing to say, right? I'm not going to go into... Well, forget about it. They're so enraptured by this that a man could be so misogynistic that they forget who the other candidate's husband is. The Night Stalker, Bill Clinton. The Night Stalker. The man who... Okay, it's one thing to talk about it. It's an entirely different thing to do it, and to be accused of doing much worse. You understand what this woman's husband is and what he did in the White House. We know what he did in the White House. What do you think he'll do when he gets in the White House again? What do you think he'll do? How come we can't draw these simple parallels? Why is it so hard? Why is it that the golden age of morality, 2016, when everything is on the up and up and the Puritans rule, right? The Puritans rule. Every woman on every magazine cover has 17 threads of clothes on. That's their right, though. You can't say anything about that. Right? It's my right to show off my body, but you can't look at it and you can't talk about it. It's my right to be on the cover of this CD and the cover of this magazine completely naked, but don't say anything about it, or else you're a misogynist. It's my complete and total right to parade up and down Fifth Avenue with my breasts out because I'm a woman, but don't say anything about it, or else you're a pervert. Yet, these same people who holler for these rights and these, whatever you want to call it, to me it's like a bad prank on a national level done by some beta house members. Right? So some frat house got in and hacked some sort of social media and made up some strange woman character who told women, yes, the best thing that you could do is get on magazines half naked. That shows how much power you have. That shows the empowerment of women to get on there and have, only your left breast covered. That's empowerment. It's some bad frat prank gone awry. So these Puritans come out and tell, Donald Trump, terrible, misogynistic man. I could tell you something about being president, all right? It takes an insane person. That's all. It takes an insane person to be president. Let's think about JFK. It takes a madman, okay? JFK was running around with Marilyn Monroe. But that's not even the issue. The issue is Bill Clinton's going to be back prowling the halls of the White House. Every guest, every person who comes through the White House has to pass through his field of vision. And God only knows what comes along with that. And that's a frightening thing in and of itself. And this is a man who we know about his history with women. So what am I getting at? Get off it. That's what I'm getting at. Get off it. Get off it already. It's a silly thing. It's a silly thing. Not because it's a silly thing. It's not a silly thing because it's a silly thing, if you know what I'm saying. It's a silly thing because you have the Night Stalker standing next to the accusers. Right? So you have the candidate who is the accuser, and he's married to the Night Stalker. He's married to Bela Lugosi. She's married to Count Dracula, himself. Look into my eyes. Look. Come into my Oval Office. Hillary is away. You kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're insane, you people. You people are insane. You speak out of both sides of your mouth. It's an amazing thing to listen to and to watch, right? I go to the supermarket, I cover my son's eyes up. I don't do it. But it's just the idea. Any movie you go to, PG-13, doesn't matter. There's asses out, boobies out, everywhere you look. You have a guy say something like this, that I could go on Netflix right now and bring up probably about 6-7 comedy specials that are lined with vulgarity like you wouldn't even believe. Our children have complete and total access to it any time, day or night that they want. I can go to the record store. They don't call them record stores anymore. I could go buy 6-7 different albums that would have your jaw on the floor with vulgarity. And I know what you want to say, right? You want to say, well, they're not running for president. They're not trying to be the president. They're not running for president now. That's how it's different, right? How is it different? How is it different? It's a representative of this filthy society. That's what it is, right? President is nothing more than a representative, right? At the end of the day. How's he not a representative of this society? Hillary isn't. Well, maybe she is. Maybe she is, right? She's a working woman who busted her ass to get to where she is, and her ungrateful husband cheated on her and then drags her along and all that whole thing. So maybe they're both great representatives of this lost society. I don't know. What I do know is what's important to you. That's all that matters. None of it matters. The women, the comments, the emails, at the end of the day, it comes down to what matters to you. Does national security matter to you? If not, then 33,000 emails probably isn't a big deal to you. If you believe that we can let anyone in the country at any time and anyone can have all of our secrets at any time and we should warn every nation that we ever have a conflict with that we're coming to bomb, it's no big deal. What's the big deal? This is not an issue for you. You're a Hillary Clinton voter. If you believe that we should put our priorities behind the rest of the world's priorities, then that's, you want me to give you my affiliations, my affiliates? You want me to tell you how I affiliate? Because I can do that when we talk about issues. Right? So first and foremost, I'll just give you sort of the equation, okay, of how you can figure this thing out for yourself if you're really on the fence. If you're really like Glenn Beck and you're really on the fence, you don't know, I don't know, I'm not sure how I'm going to pull the lever for. You have your four walls. and the family therein, right? The priority goes as follows. The most important affiliation for me is the Walton family. It's the Walton family. It's my family. Who's going to make decisions that are going to affect my family in a big way? What do I worry about my family? Well, I worry about things like education. I worry about, not so much though, to be honest with you. I don't worry a lot about education anymore, and it's none of your business why, but what else do I worry about? I worry about security. I worry about safety more than anything. I worry about access to resources, right? I want to make sure that my family has access to the cheap resources that we need to survive. Energy, I want it cheap. Yes, I do. I want energy cheap. I want gas cheap. I want electricity cheap. Why? Because all the rest of the money goes towards the Walton family and the Walton nest egg. Okay? So that's number one. My first and most important affiliate is the Walton family. When I sit there and look at two candidates, I say, okay, who can get me the things that I need to make sure that my family has a good 100 years on this planet? And that the next generation of Waltons can say the same. What's my next affiliate? My next affiliate is America, right? The American people. Now the emphasis on the American people. So when we talk about 65,000 refugees, when we talk about illegal immigrants, and we talk about creating a better path for immigration, I say not that interested. Not that interested. Sorry. You want my honest opinion? You want me to lie to you? Well, we should help everyone trying to get into America and do the things that they should. Everybody should have an opportunity. And when I'm looking over the budget for the family, you know what I mean? When I'm looking over how these things work, I'm worried about Americans first. Not to say that I never worry about people getting into the country and contributing, because immigrants are the nation. But now, at this time, no, I'm worried about Americans. That's my next affiliation. Okay, so I'm not worried about how we get more people in and give them funds out of my paycheck. I'm more worried about how do we make sure the people here are safe? How do we make sure the people here are taken care of? How do we make sure the American people are the first priority of the American president? Because I don't get that feeling. I don't get that feeling from Hillary Clinton. I don't get that feeling from just the condition of Americans. You look around the condition of Americans. What's the situation? We're better to prop people up than we are to get them good jobs and good careers and good lifestyles and good things to be proud of. Okay, move on. My last affiliation is with the human race. Right? The human race. How do we better the quality of life that is the human race? And what do I mean by that? I don't mean let's send all our money overseas and things like that. No, I mean in matters of when we talk about things like climate change, which we're going to do a whole show about Wednesday night. When we talk about matters of environmental protections and things along those lines. I'm not interested in riding horse carriages. Right? I'm not interested in the horse-drawn carriage. I'm not interested in eliminating technologies that give us cheap energy. I'm not. We could talk about fracking maybe. That might be the only one I'm interested in talking about. I'm not interested in, I'm a hunter and I'm a fisherman, so conservation comes with the territory, and I appreciate nature, and I probably put more money into conserving nature than most people. I can guarantee you I put more money into conserving nature than 99% of people on Twitter who tell you shouldn't hunt. That's a guarantee. Now, again, when the choice has to be made between environment or species and the human, then I'm always going to go on the side of the human. Right? I'm always going. And I can do that because I spend much of my time and much of my money on conservation. You understand? Those are my affiliations. Do we need to stop raping and pillaging the land? Yes, but at what cost? Again, I've said it before on this show, the world is doomed. There is no resetting. No. And China coming online, India online, those things don't get reset. Those resources, we talk about what are on this show before. There are wars coming for resources, probably in my lifetime. The only answer is the Elon Musk answer, and that's get the hell off the planet. That's it. The population has to be diminished, not by throwing people in ovens like Hitler thought, but by getting onto a new planet. And that'll require cheap fuel. That requires things, okay? So that's where my affiliations lie, man. The Walton household. Boom. The Walton lineage. Numero uno to me. You can say what you want about me, I don't care. The American and the American people. That's my next most powerful affiliation. And finally, the human race. Without the human race, this planet is what? It's just creatures eating one another and defecating one another out. That's it. That's what it is. You gotta go with the harmony. It's such harmony. Yeah, nothing says harmony, right? Nothing says harmony like a grizzly bear. Nothing says harmony like a wild pack of wolves eating the stillborn fetus out of a deer's dead carcass. Nothing says harmony like that, right? That's the harmony of nature. Don't fool yourself, okay? Butterflies are pretty, but there's a lot more to nature than that. There's a lot more to nature than that. I'm sorry to tell you. But you have to take a look at your own concentric circles, right? Your own affiliations, and you have to say, okay, what matters to me? Does the gender representation really matter to you? Does that matter to you? Here's the other one. Should a president even be responsible for pushing social issues? Right? Should a president, or a government for that matter, ever play an important role in pushing social issues? We know that these progressive issues are driven by fascists. We know it. We see it every day. We put on social media, you'll see it. We see people's careers ruined over saying the wrong thing. It's fascism. That's what it is, right? The fear to be who you are in your workplace, that's fascism. You're living it, right? You get in the break room, somebody comes up to you, hey, who are you voting for? What the fuck? Are you insane? That's fascism. You can't say what you want, you can't be who you are at work. That's the fascia. That's what happens when you start adding social, issues into a government. It becomes a little bit fascistic. I'm sorry to say it. Social issues need to be taken care of by the people of the nation. Right? Strong leaders need to come from all corners of the nation and make their case, just like Martin Luther King Jr. And if it gets to the point where people in accordance, then maybe there are laws that need to be made. But the way that I feel about it is that we're done with laws. We have enough. There's plenty of laws. We don't need any more laws. Laws don't help people. No, laws aren't put in place to help people in most cases. Laws wind up hurting people, costing people, and they let the government dig even deeper into your pockets, into your privacy, into your home, into your everything. So what else are you worried about? What else? Look at your life. Don't look at the election as Hillary and Donald. Sit down and list about 10 things that suck about your life. I don't make enough money. My kids hate me. My kids are bored. My kids' school sucks. What is it? What things drive you up a wall? Now look at what the candidates are offering. It's pretty clear, right? The differences in the candidates are pretty clear as far as policy. And like I said, nobody's going to get 100% done of what they want. But at least you know where they're going to put their effort. And you know what's possible. That's it. That might be the last I talk about it from now until election time. From now until the day the election is won, that might be the last I talk about Hillary and Trump. Because it's over. We don't even need a third debate. It's a wrap. We know who they are. We know what they're about. We've been watching them for years. What do we need another debate for? Cancel it. Cancel the debate. I don't want to watch the ugly moderators come out and do what they do. I don't want to watch it. Said, sit down, think about your priorities, and go from there. That's my advice. That's all. Have a good night.